So we wanted to do this, and I kind of wanted to do this just because this is a big topic in the United States right now. So a couple of weeks ago, on November 13th, as everyone knows, I've just been behind on doing this. Four Idaho students, University of Idaho students, were murdered in their sleep, which sounds absolutely egregious, and it is. Um, they were stabbed to death in a house that has a different floor plan. We're gonna do a video on the floor plan, and the details are so crazy. Um, one, you're gonna hear it in the link we're sharing here from CNN. Two of the girls were at a food truck. They went to a bar. Then two others were at like some house or whatever. They went back home. Everyone goes to sleep. And somehow someone got in the house and went to the second floor, stabbed two people to death, went to the third floor, stabbed two people to death. There's two surviving roommates, and those roommates didn't hear a thing. So then they thought, the next morning they thought a like one of the roommates was passed out. I can't speak. And so they decided, hey, let's call a couple friends, see what's going on. The friends come over, they find the bodies, they use one of the surviving roommates' phones to call 911. Right away, my question is, how can you not see bleeding? Like, if I'm saying, hey, I think one of my roommates has passed out, that means I would have had to get out of the basement, go upstairs, go to the room, and say, hey, Maddie, one of the students, are you okay? And see, like, oh my God, what the heck? There's blood, there's bleeding. I don't know. I want those questions answered. But the community in Idaho, in Moscow, Idaho, yes, I know, has been so distraught, and they have been worried and concerned because there's no suspect, there's no weapon, there's no motive, there's nothing. So you're going to see here in the video that the police were clearing suspects one by one by one. Um, and so let me redo this. But they were really, you know, um, clearing a lot of people, and they were saying, no, it wouldn't be this person. This person didn't do it. This person didn't do it. So here's the video, and we're gonna like stop it in between, maybe. If not, we're just gonna let it go.
We're getting new information about the violent murders of four college students in Idaho. Detectives revealing the initial 911 call came from one of the surviving roommates' cell phones. Police also saying for the first time that there were several other friends at the house when that 911 call came in, which of course was hours after the actual murders themselves. Now, despite these details, police tonight still have no suspect, no weapon, no motive. Camilla Bernal is out front in Moscow, Idaho.
This incident has shaken our community, and we continue to mourn for the victims.
More than a week after the killings of four University of Idaho students, the mystery over who murdered them only deepens. As investigators search the crime scene, police revealing who is not considered a suspect, beginning with the two roommates asleep in the home, as four others were stabbed to death.
How does one individual kill four people at night and not wake up the other two roommates?
I don't even know that information at this point in time, and that's why we're continuing to investigate.
That's actually a very good question. How is the basement so? I mean, like, I remember my grandma's house. We used to have she used to have this room that was like, you'd go down some steps and you were, boom, there you go, like you were under, kind of like underground, but it was like a basement, and it was right across from their room, or from the bathroom, and then like right next to their room. So my question is it soundproof? Like, is that basement like really soundproof that those students couldn't hear a bunch of screaming? Now, you could say, oh, well, they were being stabbed and maybe they were so sleepy. Yeah, but some of them had defensive wounds, as you're going to see. I don't know. I would think I would hear screaming from pain. I don't know. Did they get gagged? I don't know.
But police able to clear the roommates as suspects, adding that one of their phones was used to place the 911 call just before noon that day. The initial caller not revealed, and police say several people talked to the dispatcher.
There was other friends that had arrived at the location.
Those friends first called over by the roommates when they thought one of the victims was passed out and not waking up. Also cleared as a suspect.
I would want to know. That's my friend Oscar calling. I would want to know, did those roommates or did those friends like see, you know, them, stabbed? Did they see any bleeding? Did they see anything, or were they covered by a blanket? But there would be bleeding on the blanket.
A man Kaylee Gonzalez called several times after she got home at 1:45 a.m. Her family says it was an ex-boyfriend and that they never suspected him.
He is not a suspect. He is not suspicious. He is 100% innocent in this.
That's interesting. Very interesting. I know I'm stopping it, but they're backing up the boyfriend. When have you heard a family going, nope, not, or the ex-boyfriend, not the ex-boyfriend? Now, she was calling, I think it was Kaylee. She was calling the boyfriend, her ex-boyfriend, over and over and over, which makes me think, in the communication, human-to-human communication, did she miss him? Did she feel like, hey, you know what, I want to get back with him? Or did she know, shit, someone's following us, I need to get some help? I don't know.
Police also cleared as a suspect someone seen in video from a food truck that two of the victims visited that night, and a driver that picked up Gonzalez and Madison Mogan to bring them home after visiting the food truck.
Homicide by stabbing.
The murder weapon, we know, is a fixed blade knife, generally much stronger than a kitchen knife and commonly used in hunting.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, it's bizarre. This knife couldn't have been a kitchen knife, couldn't have been like one of those like steak knives. This had to be an absolute killer of a knife. Stiff as hell, absolutely brutal, in order for someone to commit these killings, because you're killing 4 people with the same weapon, and some of them are defending themselves, probably a couple of them. You've got to have a strong knife for that. And I mean, yeah.
Police say all
Crazy.
4 victims were likely sleeping at the time of the attack, but some possibly woke up and defended themselves.
There were stab wounds on
Of course they
the
woke up.
hands of at least one of the students that make it appear that it would be defensive wounds.
Authorities canvassing neighborhoods for clues and additional video as flyers reading "Please help" appeared around the neighborhood. Kaylee Gonzalez's mother telling NBC she's urging the killer to end the mystery.
The guilt has got to be just overwhelming. It's got to be
hiding.
sickening. Stop hiding, stop running.
And all of these families want to find the killer. They want answers. They want justice. But in the meantime, they're also planning funerals. Ethan Chapin's, the 20-year-old, his funeral is happening as we speak. Cameras were not allowed inside of the service. But his mother spoke before that service. She was extremely emotional, saying that her son is one of the most incredible people you'll ever meet. They asked everyone to wear blue because he is a triplet, and blue was his triplet color.
Joining me now is host of HLN's Real Life Nightmare, retired cold case investigator.
So before we go on there, it's so stunning. It hurts, to know that a mom is crying like, God damn it, Oscar. It's just so heartbreaking to know that someone's mom is really, really hurting. It's just so, it's so, I'm sure painful. I'm sure, I guess, how can I put it? It's unbearable, and I just can't imagine what that's like. I just can't. Let's go back in before Oscar distracts us.
Paul Holes. Paul, great to see you. What do you make of this case so far, particularly what seems to be the scarcity of information, or at least lack of publicly released information? Do you think that maybe authorities know more than they're revealing?
Well, there's no question that authorities know more than what they're revealing. But I think, as I'm watching this case and watch it unfold, I think authorities are still trying to figure out exactly what they're dealing with. Initially they came out and said, this appears to be a targeted attack. There's no concern to the rest of the public. But then since then, they've retracted that. And I believe as they investigate this case, they're starting to realize it's maybe more complicated than what they first thought.
How so?
Before he answers that question, I can only imagine if I'm in that community, I'd be carrying a weapon, I'd be doing whatever. To have to retract that statement. Oh, never mind, you're not safe, everyone. Please stay inside. I mean, they allowed police presence on the University of Idaho campus. What about in the surrounding neighborhood where you have students living? Hey, I'm safe on campus, but if I go home, I might die by stabbing.
Well, I believe what's happening is that you have 4 victims, and this is obviously a huge case. It's very complicated. And when they went into this crime scene, they likely saw that maybe 1 or 2 of the victims had more violence inflicted on them. The offender spent more time with them, and they thought, okay, these were the intended targets, and that the other victims in the house were secondary. So they focused their initial investigation thinking, okay, it's going to be something, a relationship, some sort of prior interaction that the offender had with those particular victims. However, when that didn't pan out, now I think what their understanding is that there's a possibility that the offender, the killer, is a complete stranger to these victims, and that the reason that they're seeing that some of the victims had more violence on them was due to the circumstances as the violence was being inflicted.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, you do think, like, okay, I mean, do they know them? Is this a relationship gone wrong? Is this couple friends made this asshole mad and they decided, I'm gonna go kill these guys? I mean, you never know, especially, and I mean, if they take more time with them, you could see in the autopsy, you could see with fingerprints, you could see with whatever. I mean, this is absolutely bizarre.
The details we mentioned about the hours leading up to the murders, how crucial is the timeline? And maybe how far would you go back looking?
Well, the timeline is absolutely crucial. It's possible that night, that while the victims are out, enjoying their college years, that the offender could have interacted with them or have seen them and followed them back. So that is absolutely mandated to follow up on. However, right now, they've only released information of the victims' timelines for that evening. And oftentimes, killers make the decision to kill within 72 hours, 3 days before the attack. So they need to go back and actually figure out, well, what's been going on in these victims' lives 3 days prior to this attack, if not further.
We just got about 30 seconds left. Can you wrap your head around the fact that there were 2 other roommates who seemed to have, slept through the murders and were not attacked?
Well, from afar, you have 6 people inside this house, 4 are killed. For me, it's where are these victims inside the house? These 2 roommates may have been a house that's more isolated than where the other victims were, and that's why they were spared, or they weren't the target of this particular offender.
Paul Holes, we appreciate your time tonight helping us understand, which at this point is really still a big mystery.
Yeah, I would be interested to know, and that's a very good point, which is, well, look, like I just mentioned in the beginning, I mean, these guys were awake or asleep, but how did they not wake up? Right? Like, how did they not go, hey, what the heck is going on? Ah, right? Like, if you hear screaming, help. So again, and then the other, look, I mean, it's so weird. And again, maybe they were spared. Maybe it's like, nah, I don't want those 2. And what we're gonna see in this other video we're gonna play, not here, but in another clip, is what if the killer knew the layout of the house, knew how it was laid, knew how it looked, knew what roommates he wanted to go kill, and knew where they slept. That could be an option too, and it could be that they were the ones targeted and not the ones in the basement. That is very true. I would also, say, like, you're going to be walking out in maybe tactical gear. You're maybe going to be walking out with blood on your shoes, maybe blood on your... Did they take a bag out with their bloody clothes and all that and put on new clothes? Was there bleeding on the floor? There's so much to ask in this case. And I mean, just a lot going on, and there's so much more we're going to go over with this case, but this is such a sad case. And the mom having to bury her son, and these are kids my age and younger, actually. And man, I hope whoever this killer is, I hope they catch him. I hope they, if it's a male or female, I'm pretty sure it's a male, honestly. The other thing too is, before I end it, it just came back to my mind. What if the others were hearing this brutal attack, and would they not decide to run? Would they decide, hey, let's go down secretly? Or maybe the killer had the door open, or did he close the door, kill them, open the door, get out, go to the third floor, and kill the rest of them? I don't know. But this is a really sad and devastating case. And I hope that they catch this guy or person very soon who did this.